Do you ever wonder why you keep attracting the same type of people into your life? The narcissists, the users, the emotionally unavailable ones, the people who drain your energy and leave you feeling empty. You think it's bad luck, poor judgment, or just the reality of modern dating and friendship. But Freud discovered something disturbing. You're not randomly attracting these people. You're unconsciously selecting them. Your damaged psyche is magnetically drawn to people who will recreate your earliest wounds because familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar love. Right now, you probably have someone in your life who treats you exactly the way you were treated. As a child, dismissive, critical, unpredictable, or emotionally distant. And despite knowing they're bad for you, you can't seem to walk away. That's not weakness. That's your unconscious mind, trying to heal old wounds by recreating them with new people. You're stuck in what Freud called repetition compulsion, the psychological need to recreate familiar dynamics even when they're destroying you. You think you want healthy love, but your unconscious is addicted to toxic familiarity. Breaking this pattern requires you to face something terrifying. You're not a victim of bad people. You're an active participant in choosing them. Tell me in the comments, do the people who hurt you remind you of anyone from your childhood? Can see from your responses that many of you are recognizing painful patterns between your current relationships and your early experiences. But here's what Freud discovered about why we're drawn to toxic people. We're trying to prove we're worthy of love from people who can't give it. If your parent was emotionally unavailable, you'll chase emotionally unavailable partners. If your caregiver was critical, you'll attract critical friends. If your family was chaotic, you'll feel most comfortable in chaotic relationships. Your unconscious mind believes that if you can finally get love from someone who resembles the person who withheld it originally, you'll prove that you're worthy of love. But this is a psychological trap that keeps you stuck in endless cycles of rejection and disappointment. You're trying to heal your past by recreating it, but you can't. Heal a wound by reopening it. You can't prove your worth to people who are incapable of seeing it. Freud realized that we don't attract our soulmates. We attract our cellmates, people who will lock us in the same psychological prison we grew up in. The excitement you feel when you meet someone familiar isn't chemistry. It's your trauma, recognizing its match. The intensity you mistake for passion is actually your wounded child, crying out for the love it never received. What childhood wound are you trying to heal through your adult relationships? Your honest answers reveal the deep connections between your past wounds and current relationship patterns. But Freud discovered something even more disturbing. You're not just attracting toxic people, you're training them to be toxic to you. You show them exactly how to hurt you through your reactions, your boundaries, and your tolerance for mistreatment. When someone treats you poorly and you stay, you're teaching them that this behavior is acceptable. When you make excuses for their actions, you're giving them permission to repeat them. When you blame yourself for their problems, you're training them to see you as responsible for their emotions. You think you're being understanding, patient, or loving, but you're actually being an enabler of your own abuse. Freud understood that we become co-conspirators in our own mistreatment because familiar dysfunction feels like home. You don't know how to recognize healthy love because you've never experienced it. You mistake intensity for intimacy, chaos for passion, and trauma bonding for deep connection. The people who treat you well feel boring or wrong because health feels foreign to your damaged nervous system. You're literally addicted to the stress chemicals that toxic relationships produce, which is why healthy people feel flat and uninteresting. How have you been unconsciously training people to treat you poorly? I can see from your responses that you're recognizing how you've participated in your own mistreatment. But Freud discovered the most painful truth about toxic relationships. You stay in them because you believe you deserve them. Deep down, you don't think you're worthy of genuine love, respect, or kindness. This unworthiness was programmed into you before you could speak, and now it operates like an invisible force field that repels healthy people and attracts toxic ones. When someone healthy shows interest in you, your unconscious mind panics. This person doesn't know the real me, you think. If they knew how damaged, broken, flawed I am, they'd leave. So, You either sabotage the relationship before they can discover your truth, or you simply don't feel attracted to them because they don't activate your trauma responses. But when someone toxic shows up, someone who criticizes you, neglects you, or treats you as less than, your unconscious mind relaxes. Finally, it says, someone who sees me accurately. This is why you can fall in love with people who hurt you, but feel nothing for people who cherish you. Your emotional system is calibrated to dysfunction, so health registers as wrong or dangerous. You're not attracted to what you want. You're attracted to what you believe you deserve. What did you learn about your worth from the people who were supposed to love you first? Your childhood stories reveal the deep programming that's controlling your adult relationships. But here's what Freud discovered about breaking these patterns. You have to become consciously incompatible with toxic people. Right now, you're unconsciously compatible with dysfunction because you speak the same emotional language. You understand manipulation because you learned it. You tolerate abuse because it's familiar. You accept crumbs because you've never been fed a full meal of love. But conscious incompatibility means rewiring your entire emotional operating system. It means learning to recognize red flags as stop signs, not green lights. It means understanding that someone who love bombs you in the beginning is showing you how they manipulate, not how much they care. It means realizing that people who create chaos and then rescue you from it are not your saviors, they're your captors. You have to learn a new emotional language, the language of healthy boundaries, consistent respect, and genuine care. This feels uncomfortable at first because your nervous system isn't used to safety. Healthy people will feel boring because they don't activate your stress responses. But boring is actually beautiful when you've spent your life in emotional chaos. What red flags have you been interpreting as attraction signals? I can see from your comments that you're starting to recognize how you've been misreading emotional signals. But Freud warned about something that happens when you begin to change these patterns. Toxic people in your life will resist your growth. When you start setting boundaries, they'll push harder against them. When you stop accepting mistreatment, they'll escalate their behavior to get you back in line. When you begin to value yourself, they'll work overtime to convince you that you're not worth valuing. This isn't personal, it's psychological. Toxic people need you to stay damaged because your healing threatens their control over you. They've invested in your low self-worth because it makes you easier to manipulate. Your growth forces them to either grow themselves or find a new victim. And most toxic people would rather find a new victim than do the work of becoming healthy. This is why changing your relationship patterns often means changing your entire social circle. The people who benefited from your dysfunction won't celebrate your health. They'll call you changed, difficult, or too sensitive when you stop tolerating what you used to accept. But these reactions confirm that you're moving in the right direction. Healthy people celebrate your boundaries, not attack them. Which people in your life would be threatened by your psychological healing? Your responses reveal who would support your growth versus who would sabotage it. But Freud discovered something crucial about attracting healthy relationships. You have to become the person you want to attract. If you want someone who's emotionally available, you have to become emotionally available. If you want someone who has healthy boundaries, you have to develop healthy boundaries. If you want someone who loves themselves, you have to learn to love yourself. This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. You don't have to be completely healed to attract healthy love, but you do have to be actively healing. You have to be conscious of your patterns, committed to your growth, and willing to do the uncomfortable work of changing. Most people want to attract their opposite. If they're chaotic, they want someone calm. If they're anxious, they want someone secure. But opposites don't heal each other. They trigger each other. Healthy relationships are built between two people who are both committed to their own healing and growth. They're both taking responsibility for their triggers, working on their wounds, and choosing consciousness over reactivity. The goal isn't to find someone who completes you. It's to become complete yourself and then share that completeness with someone who's doing the same work. What kind of person would you need to become to attract the love you actually want? Can see from your answers that you're beginning to understand the work required to attract healthy love. But here's the final piece Freud discovered about transforming your relationship patterns. You have to grieve the fantasy relationships you've been chasing. You've been addicted to potential, falling in love with who people could become instead of accepting who they actually are. You've been investing in relationships based on occasional glimpses of the person you want them to be, ignoring the consistent evidence of who they really are. This hope addiction keeps you trapped in situations that will never give you what you need, because you're not dealing with reality, you're dealing with projection. Breaking this pattern requires you to grieve the loss of your fantasies. You have to accept that the emotionally unavailable person will not suddenly become available for you. The narcissist will not develop empathy for your pain. The commitment phobe will not overcome their fears for your love. These people are showing you exactly who they are. You just don't want to believe them because accepting the truth means grieving the dream. But this grief is necessary for freedom. When you stop trying to change people and start accepting them as they are, you can make clear decisions about whether they belong in your life. You can't love someone into becoming who you need them to be. You can only love them for who they actually are or choose to love someone else. What fantasies about people do you need to grieve in order to see reality clearly? As we conclude this deep exploration into the psychology of relationships, I want you to understand something profound that Freud discovered. You have the power to break generational patterns of dysfunction and create a new legacy of healthy love. Every toxic relationship you've endured, every pattern you've repeated, every wound you've reopened, it was all preparing you for this moment of choice. You can choose to continue the cycle, or you can choose to heal it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. When you learn to recognize your worth, you teach others to recognize theirs. When you develop healthy boundaries, you give others permission to do the same. When you choose conscious love over familiar chaos, you become a model for what's possible. Your healing isn't just personal, it's generational. The work you do to transform your relationship patterns will affect your children, your friends, and everyone whose life you touch. You have the opportunity to be the one who breaks the chain of dysfunction in your family line, the one who chooses healing over repetition, consciousness over compulsion. This work isn't easy, but it's the most important work you'll ever do, because the quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life, and the quality of your life determines the quality of your contribution to the world. You deserve love that doesn't require you to betray yourself, relationships that don't demand you to stay small, and connections that celebrate your growth rather than punish it. The question that will determine your relationship future is simple. Are you ready to stop being attracted to your wounds and start being attracted to your healing?